Yeah, back. Interesting week kicking off here. It's the week of if Daniel Jones should be benched or not. It's basically what it is. Not surprising to hear any of it, not surprising to read any of it. I think it's been a long time coming, probably for a lot of people. Just not even the benching part of it, but just the accountability part of it with Daniel and having the whole idea now of this man even possibly being benched is completely new to us, or some of us at least, the concept of it ever having the possibility of taking place. And it's kind of crazy, but we are here. It took 6 long seasons. Daniel has been a very controversial player, of course, at least on the field, because everything off the field from the guy, for the most part, 100% part, has been free and clear. Any bullshit, straight up dude, doesn't cause any problems. Not out there doing some serious clown stuff. We respect that, and stuff like that, and admire um, the man that he is when it comes to being, a good dude. But when it comes to the play on the field, man, it's kind of a different story here because it's been some of the most disrespectful last fucking play that I've ever seen from the New York Football Giants at the quarterback position in some of my 30 plus years of being a fan of this team. And I've seen some not great quarterbacks. I've probably maybe not seen the worst of quarterbacks before somebody like Daniel, but I'm sure I have plenty of markers to go through from a Jesse Palmer, Kelly Collins, Phil Simms, Eli, of course, Hefty Lefty that didn't even get started, Davis Webb that didn't even get play. Like all these other players, man. And it's a shame that the play that from Daniel and just this era of the Giants has really been so not very good and terrible in a lot of ways. But it is what it is with that. The conversation around Daniel has really been kicking off, and of course, the conversation even around the front office and Dayball are part of this, which I was kind of suspecting would be a thing. Coming off the Washington or going towards into the Washington Commanders game and coming off the Minnesota Vikings game, there is a lot of space in between, especially from what the play was, both offensively and defensively, on the offensive and defensive side of the ball in ways. This has this air of real heavy scrutiny and questioning that's really only natural, man. I mean, you can't come out there against the Vikings and just not be able to hit a wide receiver on a fucking 10-yard hook button route. Can't hit him on a fucking corner route, 10 yards down the field, 20 yards down the field. Players are dropping balls too, of course, passes. But if you're off target and some of them drops aren't in the target range area, then, you know, who do you really fault that for? It's much like the offensive line play from some of the analytics that have come out now. I spoke about it in my last video that, I didn't suspect that there are many things around the faulting parts of Daniel, and that kind of rings true in my opinion when it comes to the offensive line. Because as far as some of the analytical places out there, they've not been rated terribly at all, and pretty respectable and serviceable at an NFL standard. As far as the quarterback play now, it should be more of a promising or fruitful environment for him to try to perform at a better level. Week one wasn't that level that we were looking for, but week two here with Daniel himself having such a historically good record for his career against the Washington Commanders, we hope to see better play from there. And then, of course, the team itself, we beat them even without Daniel with Tommy DeVito, I believe, last season. So, there's no reason for the Giants to come into this game and, in my opinion, look much like the Vikings game to where we can't compete throughout all 4 quarters. We'll say it like that. It's just, and if that turns bad, man, I don't know which way he would be up from there because it's more than likely, in my opinion, probably gonna be on the opposite side of the ball if there is trouble. But we can't discount the defense itself not showing up because we can't have players out there with 0 stats across the fucking board and are supposed to be some of the better primary players on our defense, especially up front, like Kevin Thibodeau, who had just an empty chart. And Not too much disrespect, no disrespect on that, of course. But wow, bro, ain't no fucking way. No, because we don't need that from all we've heard from this defense. Um, themselves and from the coaching staff, there's no reason for this defense to be doing like that, man. They need to be together enough to understand team tackling, team effort, and keeping the energy that they want to come into the game with, and how to carry that throughout all 4 quarters, and not to be so subdued or in waiting with it, and to missing the opportunities to really strike and change the pace of the game. So we hope that gets picked up on the side of the ball, so that that can carry out through the game. And if the offense is operating at an efficient level, then we should have a pretty good football game in our hands, at least on the Giants side, and be competitive against a Washington Commanders team who's kind of revitalized with a fresh quarterback and ready to do some things themselves. But you know, it's funny to read it. It's funny to hear it. All this time that we've been waiting for this conversation around the QB play to arrive to this point, because I myself have kind of said, and maybe others have thought themselves, that Daniel's never been really challenged with either a serious backup behind him to push him and compete him. The best we probably had is a Tyrod Taylor. And now I guess we're going to have to say, you know, Drew Lock, in respect of him coming in as a high value pick. But even Tommy DeVito, because Tommy DeVito showed at least I can come into the game and run plays just like Daniel was running them. And a lot of them plays have better outcomes, regardless of my talent level in comparison to Daniel right now. It's pretty much what Tommy DeVito's game has stated last year, and it kind of remains right now if Daniel is going to be playing like he is. That, the idea of a Tommy DeVito coming in to play is not wildly like, man, it's going to be so much worse than Daniel overall. Not good, not good. We try not to come down too hard on DJ personally about it. I don't. Everything I've ever really said about the guy has been about on his on-field play, the contract stuff, and counting that, I feel. But people kind of felt a little bad for him, which is what's the weirdest thing is that we have opposing teams, players on their teams, man, from Micah Parsons against the Cowboys. He cutting videos talking about Daniel's a good QB. You got the Vikings players talking about da 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 da, this and that, man. Uh, we just need the Redskins, the Eagles have even come out, and they got Saquon coming out for Daniel saying, "Hey, Daniel, keep at it, man." Blah blah blah. And then he's already doing his own thing. He's back here, still cutting it like it is. And then we got probably fucking somebody from the Commanders this weekend is going to come out and say, "Hey, you guys, Daniel's going through it. You got to keep with him and support him." It's wild. I don't know if I've known another a team or a team having a quarterback and having so many opposing teams that they've played try to support, a primary player on their team like they do. You know what I'm saying? A guy might support him for getting the contract signing or something like that, but to try to motivate a team, an opposing team for their quarterback and say, "Hey guys, we know you got a rough quarterback. Keep trying to support him," is just interesting. Interesting. But not everybody is so warm to the idea of Daniel being treated so fluffily, um, just regarding his play. And you kind of understand that, man. You can't fault people being a little upset at it. You just fault the real clowns that go out of their ways and do the most wrong things outside of the game of football and outside of just being a fan of it. Having that respect and separations of yourself and the game itself, to know that, hey, man, I can just turn this off. When the game is over, that's it. You know, but it is what it is. It's pretty out here. Um, Yeah, I think that's the most interesting things of the coming off that Vikings game is how the conversation around Daniel's potential benching and the changing of the front office and the coaching staff off of that, man, because we've gone through so much while this guy Daniel is here, that to see him take one more coaching staff and one more front office GM staff down and out with him, man, would just be true giant stuff. And the only one that it'd be the funny part is that after all that stuff is torn out and to include Jones. The only thing that would be remaining is probably one of the most worst parts of it, and that's John Mara right now, just doing what he do up top, and facilitating this team like he do sometimes, man. Saying things on camera with Saquon, man. Hearing him say stuff like that doesn't even make me feel good that he kind of respects Saquon talent. It just makes me, man, what did you say about Jones last season to have them hand out the contract like they did? Is all that does for me at this stage in the game with it, man. Because it's been a long time, but it's all coming to a little um, converging on a certain point here, to where it's as plain as day. And I think also in more serious terms that it comes down to a point of how badly do you let a player play on your team before you're starting to kind of infringe on respectable professional NFL play. I think it's to say it most plainly is kind of like that. Not to say Dan Jones is completely an unprofessional NFL quarterback, just that the level of play that we're getting right now is not QB1 status. And it's unfortunate there's no real QB thing to put in front of him like a different player to say, okay, now you can be the bench backup guy. But they know what they gave the contract to him just a year ago, man. It's not like we're new arriving with his play. So it's kind of toss out at the same time with it, man. Not the sympathy or the empathy, not to say straight apathy, but it just kind of, it's not so much sympathy, maybe some empathy, but not for at least the organization, at least. Yeah, I think that's it, man. I'm as blue as it gets. Just here sharing some of the fandom with the fandom. Just find it interesting how we're going through this week, especially with the conversation around the whole QB thing. Wow. Um, York, we hope Washington game is better. And that includes all 53 players, not just Daniel Jones, but Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Jason Pinnock, Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Darius Masao, Fabio Corrique, Micah McFadden if he played, Isaiah Simmons if he get to play, um, Banks, Trey Hawkins, Drew Phillips, Tyler Nubin. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting some names on the line right now as far as the other interior guys, but all them people, offensive line, Adam Manor, Thomas, JMS if he's out there, the guards, Singletary, Tracy, and Daniel. All of them hopefully will play better and we get a win and they all get that win too together as a team. Take 53. See y'all later, man. Blues gets. Peace.